Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Southampton Way podcast. This is episode 7. It's going to be a rather negative one this week, as I've got hardly any positives to talk about. But if there is one positive I will find, in the last week we hit 1,000 plays, which may seem like small numbers to some, but considering we've done only 6 episodes previous, I'm more than grateful for the support that we've had so far. So thank you everybody for that support. If you do want to keep notified for when we hit an upload, then just subscribe. It should come through and notify you every time we upload. We do hit you with a full episode every single Friday, and then the day before or day of a game, you'll get a short upload from that pod of the preview of the game you're about to watch. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, be sure to head over to YouTube, because that's where you're going to find those small snippets if you haven't got time to catch the whole thing. I think some people find that quite helpful. This week we have got, unfortunately, quite a lot of dross to get through. Saturday we slumped at Leeds at Ellen Road, and then last night, or if you're listening on Friday or beyond, on Wednesday, we were even worse against Grimsby Town, League 2 Grimsby Town. Joining me is football broadcaster Martin Sanders, and we do have a brief chat with Alfie House from the Daily Echo coming up too. So, Martin, again, thank you very much for coming on, mate. I know it's a painful chat we have at the moment, but thank you for coming on.
No, you're welcome. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me back on. I've had a good 24 hours now to sort of calm down from last night and reflect on it, and spent a bit of time talking to a lot of friends, a lot of Southampton friends and contacts, and last night was not acceptable in any way or form. I don't know about you. I just thought that the players that started the game, they want to hold their heads in shame because they were absolute disgrace.
Mm-hmm.
There was no effort. Yeah. Didn't try. Didn't want to get a foot in.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
It was.
I couldn't believe what I was witnessing.
Yep. No, I couldn't either. That first half was just about as bad as it gets. We didn't make any visible improvement in the second either. Given, obviously the penalty come up quickly, but we will move on to it and chat in depth about that shortly. Unfortunately, we do have to cast our minds back first to what seems like an age ago due to last night, but to Leeds on Saturday. I know we both had a chat. We sort of saw the game and the highlights and stuff like that, and it wasn't quite the Chelsea performance, was it?
No, I watched the game and I was so disappointed. I couldn't believe how different we were compared to the Chelsea game. We sat off, didn't we? Didn't press, which we did against Chelsea. We pressed. Obviously, you went with the same starting 11, which I wasn't surprised about, but there's a few faces I'm surprised to see. For Ali Nusi was one of the poorer players at Stamford Bridge, and he started and he was dreadful. And at one stage, he's got the ball on the edge of the 18-yard box. I think tall Paul had gone out to the left, the player gone out to the left-hand touchline. Easy ball, slip it in where he could have played it inside, and he managed to pass it to the fullback. And that kind of set the tone. You poor, sloppy play, want to get rid of the ball quickly. Nobody wants to retain it. No one's confident on it other than James Ward-Prowse and Lavia. People just want to get rid of the ball, pass responsibility all the time. Look scared, rabbits in headlights.
Yeah,
it was dreadful, wasn't it, Josh?
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad to watch. It really is. We are not even a shadow of what we've been in previous years. It's been kind of
back to a year ago.
Yeah.
Even if you go back to a year ago,
yeah,
it all started a year ago.
It did. I think Villa away was the one where we got lumped 4-0 and Coutinho absolutely took us apart. I think that was where I feel like it started, but probably the signs were starting to show behind the scenes before, but that we do not know. I think Leeds was pathetic. The shape, I couldn't make it out. We seemed so rigid and organised against Chelsea, and like you rightly said, we were pressing constantly. And the passing was positive. It wasn't. We weren't showing signs of a team that had a lot of fear, and at the moment we show a lot of fear. And when you've got a bunch of young players, which we do, when you play with fear, you don't want to be responsible for getting it wrong. So, like you say, they'll rightly turn and they'll make the easiest pass, which is usually to the side or behind, and it's so
Mm.
negative. We can't do it anymore. I can't agree more with you about the lineup. There's two players that for me I wouldn't have put in. I wouldn't have put, but obviously the Bednarek agenda is strong with me. I can't stand the man.
He was abysmal,
But
by the
it's
way.
shocking,
And
absolutely
for the
shocking.
goal, he shouldn't put on a shirt again this season,
No,
in my opinion.
no, I agree. I
He
agree.
shouldn't.
No, not at all. He should be, yeah, he should be put in the stands. And Elyounoussi again. I didn't get the Chelsea selection. He was the worst player for us against Chelsea. I don't think there's a question. I think even Bednarek was better than Elyounoussi on the day. I think everything Elyounoussi did against Chelsea worked against the plan everyone else had. It just seemed like he's always had a problem with his final ball. And even Ralph, I remember Ralph saying this when he would consistently pick him, and people asked him like, "Why do you keep? What is it about Moy that you really like as a footballer? Because you keep picking him." And obviously the fans were quite disgruntled at him starting. I think Ralph said something like, "He does everything well. He just doesn't have a nastiness about him. He doesn't have that final ball and that killer." And he was trying to get it out of him. I don't think you're going to get it out of him. I really don't. I think it's been long enough. I
When you're in
don't
a
think he's
relegation
got it.
scrap, you need it,
Yeah, I don't
don't
think
you?
he's
When
got
you're in
it.
a relegation scrap, you need it.
Yeah.
You have to fight, and you have to be able to find the final ball. And they
Mm.
couldn't find a final pass on Saturday for love nor money.
No.
You've got tall Paul, and it's a strange signing, isn't it? The guy doesn't seem to be able to last 60 minutes. That alarms me for a striker they've brought in to score goals to try and keep us in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Don't play to his strengths. Don't get the
Mm-hmm.
ball in the box. We got a terrific crosser of the football in James Ward-Prowse.
Mm-hmm.
Never gets the ball in the box. We don't get the ball and like whack a cross in and try and get him in on the end of it. Try to play these simple tippy tappy passes in around the edge of the box, and you can't get in the box.
No,
It was so
I
easy
agree.
to play against. The 4-2-2 is so regimented sometimes. And last night, we go back to the midweek cup game. People listen to this same formation, and there's no width,
Nothing.
and it really frustrates me.
Yeah, it makes you
Really frustrates me.
especially when the only times we provided width against Leeds on Saturday come through. Well, I thought sort of come through the fullbacks, and they just can't.
Yeah, it
They
did.
can't put cross in. They can't put cross in. Every ball is either long or hits the first man, or it goes behind, and it's like it's shocking. Like you say, you've got a tall man up front who is prolific with his head. We've probably found him with one sensible cross since he signed, and that was against Chelsea. It almost went in. It's still a difficult header,
Yeah.
but we don't seem to want to put the ball in his head. It's a strange one. I don't get it. I also don't get the whole 60 minutes thing, because that seems to be a game plan more than anything. It doesn't seem to be like leave Paul on. He can't play it any longer because he's doing it with
Yeah.
Camaldine.
Same as Silamana, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Silamana doesn't seem to
exactly
last
that.
90 minutes.
Well, yeah,
I
and
think
he's
he
saying
looks
that.
like he's being played out of position, the boy, really.
Yeah,
He's struggling in that role in behind. It doesn't really work, does it?
no, we said this. I think we said last week we'd like to see him as an out and out wide player and see what he does. But
Pace,
yeah,
pace and power. That's what I thought we wanted.
yeah, I think we still do. If I'm being honest,
There has to be massive, Josh, for me and the people I speak to, there has to be massive question marks over the whole transfer policy going back to last summer,
mhm.
because it looks a rabble. They've assembled a really imbalanced squad, I feel. And there's been players bought. There was no thought about some of these players that bought. You could have saved a fair bit of money, Josh, and wages in 2 or 3 and put it into one player in Danny Ings.
Mhm.
And if we brought Danny Ings back to Southampton Football Club, there is no question he would have got us a ton of goals and given us a real chance. But I think he would, did we really make an effort to go in for Danny Ings? I don't know if we did, I don't know if they thought, oh yeah, there's no sell-on value. His wages were going to be an issue. But inevitably, it's going to cost us because we can't score goals. All the teams that are struggling are void of goals, aren't they?
Mhm.
Everton are the same at the moment. They can't score goals.
Yeah.
Is that what the problem was at Leeds? We just can't. We don't look like scoring.
No, we don't. And my brother-in-law is a West Ham fan, and when they signed Ings, I was with him on the day.
Fantastic
At the
signing.
moment, I was just like, because it sort of come out of nowhere. that he went to West Ham. I don't even think they were particularly in the conversation. And then it was sort of boom, Ings is there, and it's like, oh shit. And I was with him the whole day, and I was talking to him about it, and I said, if you do get him, you'll be fine, because he had
Mm.
worries about where their goals were coming from, because their strikers were always injured, or the new guy they
They create quite a lot, don't they? They
yeah,
create quite a lot, West Ham.
exactly. But their main man was always injured, and the man to replace him was Antonio, and he doesn't think he's up to it anymore, which I tend to agree with.
No, no, he's right. He's
And
right.
he thinks Bowen had too much responsibility being an out and out striker, because he's not. He prefers him coming in off the right, which Bowen does clearly prefer coming in off the right. And I said to him, "Get Ings fit, you'll be good. You'll be absolutely fine, because he is a goal scorer." And I mean, he showed that, didn't he, at the weekend when they played?
It was mad. We were both watching the Leeds game, and you'd seen your phone ping up, and my daughter sat next to me, and she's like, Dad, Dan Ings has scored."
Yep.
A couple of minutes later, "Dad, he scored again."
Hmm.
I said, "Yeah, because he's a fantastic striker. He knows where the net is.
Hmm.
And this is exactly what we needed. Why didn't we have a go and try and get him?"
No,
I
I
don't.
agree with
It
him.
was just like, it's too. It wasn't good enough for us. That's how I felt. Maybe the board looked at it.
Hmm.
Really disappointing. Tall Paul, is he going to score any goals? I think he's got potential to be fairly decent, but got to play to the boys' strengths.
Yeah, it's so hard, isn't it? But we had this again. Me and you were chatting about this last week when we said that it's that all important first shot, and we still haven't seen
Mm.
it. He hasn't even been
No,
able to take a
no,
shot at the goal. I mean, so he had one from 30 yards against Leeds, but I mean, he's clutching
yeah.
there because he can't get near the goal, because there's nothing
Mm.
going on around him, and I do feel sorry for guys like that, and it's gonna become frustrating for people
He
like
scored a lot of goals, didn't
a
he,
lot,
for Genk?
a
He
lot.
scored a lot of goals. Yeah, I think he scored like 18 goals, 18, 19 goals
This
this
season,
season.
yeah. His
Yeah,
goal
which is
record,
incredible.
his ratio actually is outstanding for goal, for not just
Mm.
goals but goal involvements is actually outstanding. And chatting to Alex Alex Barker, Euro expert, last week, and he said actually in Genk, it's funny you should say about Paul and his head, but his average shots per game were so much heavier on his right foot. Even when you took away
Mm.
penalties that he scored, he was so much more of a dominated because he'd like to get the ball in the box, take a touch and shoot. He's never been a sort of keep it close to him, hold up, play it off. He's always been like an instinctive get it, shoot, no matter where he is. So I don't know.
He needs service desperately,
Badly.
and where's that going to come from? Whether Sellers has got like a plan B. Do you think he's got a plan B?
Do I? But I don't. I don't know if he's. I don't know if he's got plan A. I mean, it's hard. He said he did against Chelsea. He showed it against Chelsea. Everyone asked him, "Are you going to stick with that, Ruben? Are you going to stick with that?" And I didn't even see shades of Chelsea against Leeds. So it's hard. It's hard. I mean,
No.
the only thing that didn't
It was
change,
miles away, really.
it was a
Miles away.
million miles. The only thing that didn't change was the personnel, and I thought that was the thing that probably could have done to keep it fresh and keep it. Keep it. I know the old adage: if it's not broke, don't fix it. All that bullshit, and I get it. But you're in the Premier League. You're playing a team who is in the same position as you, in the exact same position as you. New manager,
Yeah.
need a win desperately. You can't bank on the fact that they're going to look at they look at what you did against Chelsea, and they'll say, well, they're going to play the same 11, aren't they? So let's just figure out who we can get at, and they did that, and it's just terrible. It's just awful. It was a not a
The lack of endeavour.
yeah,
The lack of endeavour. I
exactly.
find really hard to stomach.
Yeah, it's very, very, very difficult, and I feel like we've been let down by several parties. I don't think just the managers. I think the players do need to take a hell of a lot of responsibility. And I don't like making scapegoats of players at all. I really, really don't. But I mean, and I'm not going to make a complete example out of anyone, because that goal we conceded against Leeds was inexcusable. The defending, if you dressed it up, if you got a wizard editor of videos, and you said, right, can you take the stadium away and just like put a Sunday League pitch on for me, and then but leave the
Mm.
players as they are, and you showed that to
Yeah.
someone who doesn't like know anything about the Premier League, they say, oh, it's grassroots football, because that defending was nothing short of grassroots football. It was awful. I mean, you had, what was it, 5 players around a left back who's never scored a goal in the Prem.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
It's so much space, and Bender gets in the way of
Oh,
Gavin Bazunu, and it was embarrassing.
It's
It was
dreadful.
absolutely embarrassing.
It's dreadful.
He struggled. Bazunu, he kept? A couple of clean sheets this season,
Mm,
2 clean sheets I think he's had. He's really
yeah.
struggled, isn't
I mean,
he? It's a
yeah.
massive ask of a 19-year-old. I keep going back to it, and I'm well involved in the goalkeeping union. I speak to a lot
Mm.
of goalkeepers, and
I
it's a
was
massive
going to
step
ask
up
you
from League
about
One
that,
to the
actually.
Premier League for the young boy.
I was going to ask about that
Yeah,
because obviously
I feel it.
we've always been one for experienced keepers. Obviously, being that
Mm,
when we signed Kelvin Davis from Sunderland, he wasn't young at all,
no,
he brought that experience we needed. We come into the Premier League, didn't think Kelvin would be quite up to it, so we bought Artur Boruc from Celtic, and you know, an experienced goalkeeper in Europe. You know, Artur Boruc started making a few blunders. We were like, right, we'll look elsewhere. Who's an upcoming keeper? We bought Fraser Forster, who again had
mm,
European experience, albeit at a younger age than the other two. But I seem to remember, and I had this chat with Alfie that you'll hear shortly, that when we signed Fraser Forster, it was seen by people like Les Reed and stuff as a signing for the future because they don't think that. I think this was almost word for word what Reed said, if I remember rightly, is that goalkeepers don't hit their prime until their late 20s, early 30s. So Fraser's, he's an
that's very true.
investment. So for us to look at our previous, okay, we haven't really been actually at one point 4, 5, 6 years ago, we were statistically had the most solid defense in the league. We had the best defensive record, and we would really pride ourselves on that. And you look at how we did it over the years, and it's like the board have gone, well, Rasmus Ankerson has gone, right, this isn't broken. I'm going to fucking smash it to bits and see if I can make it any better. And it is not.
Yeah.
It's backfired massively.
Fraser's only 34. Fraser's 34.
I
I
found
thought
it.
he was
I
superb. I thought
found
he
it
was superb at the end of last
mental.
season. He's a big
Mental that we
lad.
didn't
He's
sign him.
strong. He was best mates with our captain in James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, yeah.
He would have been big in the dressing room, Fraser. And I did tweet it this week. I felt it was poor by the club, and they was, oh yeah, he was on big wages and etc. etc. But I don't think McCarthy's on small wages from what you see on Salary of Sport. I don't think
No.
there was much between them. And Alex has struggled with injuries, and
Mm-hmm.
he's nowhere near as good as Fraser Forster,
No,
in my opinion. I don't know
no,
about you,
no.
but
I agree. I agree.
I think he's been. I've watched a few Spurs games the last couple of weeks, and he has been superb,
Mm-hmm.
Fraser Forster.
Oh, he stepped up
And
definitely.
he would. We said the other day, a very good best friend of mine who's an avid Southampton fan. We feel we'd be 7 points better off with a established Premier League goalkeeper with experience.
Yeah, you're probably not
Would have
far
made a
off.
massive difference.
100%,
Would
100%.
have made a massive difference.
You have inexperience in defence, and you need an experienced head behind them. If that's the way you're going to go about
Mm.
it, you can't have it both. You can't have inexperience and experience. It's not going to work. And
You can't bring a 19 year
although
19 year old in. You just can't and throw him in. It's absolutely suicidal,
it
and
is.
it's proved to be so. We've leaked so many goals.
Mm-hmm. And the old, I know he was left with egg on his face that season, but the old Alan Anson saying you can't win anything with kids is damn right. It really is. So you look at it, why we were shopping in the nappy section the whole time, when it comes to transfers was baffling. And I know because Rasmus has hidden behind the fact that we'd signed players that were older in Joe Aribo and so on. The strategy was clear, and the fact that they didn't particularly, or I say didn't particularly, they didn't address it in January is even more concerning. And like I say,
Yeah, I think the
you
whole
went to
thing
the
with Joe
fans
Shields.
forum, and you
Yeah,
heard
I
him
was there.
talk,
Yeah,
and did you take any form of encouragement from what he had to say about the transfers? Because I know it was brought up.
yeah. They spoke about the transfers, and in hindsight, there's all this in hindsight where you've got to get it right. You're in the Premier League, you can't get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an experiment. You know, the prior owners, they worked on a tight budget. They done particularly well. We were never really in. We hovered down the bottom end of the table last couple of seasons, but we weren't really in any danger of going down. Not really. So what was working before? They had some good experienced players, but had a few younger players as well, didn't they? Likes Ori Romeo, fantastic player. Fraser Force, who we touched upon as well. And I know Nathan Redmond come to the end of his day, but he's an experienced player. Now, these were good, experienced players in the dressing room. And it's not just on the pitch, it's behind the scenes as well, isn't it? And I didn't walk away and feel a massive amount of confidence. They particularly knew what they were doing. I know that they had Joe Shields was doing a lot of that recruitment in the summer, wasn't he? And then he's disappeared quickly. But these transfers, how did they study the squad, what they needed?
It's hard. It's
I
hard.
just think it's been thrown together.
Yeah,
Where did Aribo fit in? I don't understand.
I don't.
It's just
I don't get
it's
it.
so
And
lazy.
I
So
mean, it's
lazy.
crazy. And for me, again, I don't like to scapegoat players, but I'm now at a point where we need to be honest and say if they haven't shown they're not good enough yet, they're not going to until the season ends. Leave them out. Just leave them.
Yeah.
I include players like Joe in that. Maybe potentially if we do decide to change system from this 4-4-2, which isn't working right now. I mean, God forbid we ever go back to a 5-back because we were even worse. But if we do decide to become a little bit more fluid and not be in a 4-2-2, maybe Joe fits in there somewhere. But they need to show something immediately. I think it
Mm.
does actually move us on quite well. I'm not going to dwell on the goal against Leeds. It was poor. We all know it was poor. There was several to blame at that. Last night against Grimsby, I don't think any of the players who started can take any form of positive. I know Walker Peters come out and said he wants
No.
to be positive. I don't think anybody can be positive about last night.
There's nothing positive about it at all. I did see that and oh dear me. I felt a bit sorry for him getting thrown out there, to
Mm.
be honest. To do it, any player having to go out and do the interviews last night would have been pretty tough. But no, I totally agree with you.
I saw. I did. I don't know. Maybe it's me just being angry, but the players seemed maybe a bit too. I don't know. Maybe a bit too happy for Grimsby that they'd gone through, and maybe a bit too respectful. We definitely showed them far more respect than they needed. I mean, they're a League Two side in 16th, 17th. That team was more than strong enough to go out and comfortably win 3 or 4. They should have treated it like a training session, as far as I'm concerned. They didn't. It was awful. It was
Mm.
woeful. Um, I, don't- I'm not going to point the finger at any individual because it was that bad. But was there from last night, mine, especially from you, had a much better view than I did. Was there anybody who, in that first half, you thought, you're the best of a bad bunch as such?
Mario Lavia by a country mile is better than anyone else. I think he did struggle a bit and he gave the ball away quite easy a few times. But at least he shows a bit of passion. He got frustrated with himself a few times and he really tried to get a foot in and win the ball back. But the options were so limited when he got the ball. It was so limited and nothing wide. And he's a great player, and sadly, we'll probably see him go when we Mario Lavia. He's a wonderful, wonderful player at his age, and he's going to go to the very, very top. We spoke about it on the pod last week, didn't we? There was other than him, I think Walker Peters done his. He's a good player, isn't he? But it's just with that rabble around him
Mm.
because they're rabble. They're a horrible bunch. Some of that lot played last night. I'm really angry this evening. No, come on, I'm maybe really passionate about it all, but.
Mm-hmm.
They just made me so angry.
Mm-hmm.
The way they played, and we're a laughing stock at this moment in time. I've had people text me from all over the country today, different football clubs, just saying, "I can't believe you've lost to Grimsby."
Yeah, we're not a
But the
laughing
manner of
stock.
the manner of the defeat, it was just no passion, no heart, no commitment. Where's the commitment? And Coletta Carr, I don't want to get started on the bloke,
Mm.
but it's too casual. It was
Mm.
too casual at times. And what the penalty? Dear me, that second penalty. What was he
Yeah.
doing?
I've been his biggest defender, and I've outwardly said I think he's the best
Mm.
defender at the club, and it's so. Last night was just so. I know he scored the goal. What
Just
cancelled?
let himself down.
He
Just let himself down.
massively let himself down. I think given the ref that decision in that moment was a completely poor lapse of judgment. No matter how annoyed you are at the fella for hanging off your shirt, be annoyed at the referee. We don't do that enough, and I'm sick of us being too nice to the ref or losing our head in a moment in the game rather than forget about it. Focus on your job. Play to the whistle. It's so simple. but play to the fucking whistle. If he's not going to blow it, do your job and then have a go at him. You know,
Yeah.
it's so fucking simple. It's unbelievable. It's schoolboy stuff, and I can't believe people who are paid to do it are getting it so wrong, so wrong. And I looked at Duya's disciplinary record. It's not terrible. It's really not
No.
that bad.
No, it's not.
Last night, I don't know whether I mean, it's all speculation, but I don't know whether it was like this was his moment and he was getting pent up and emotional. But you can't be emotional. I tell you one thing as well: you can't be emotional when you've got Lianco next to you, because he plays the
No.
emotion for everybody. He is the most emotional, and in my opinion, because of that, the most vulnerable. So you need to make sure
He's a
you
loose
are
cannon.
calm. He's loose. He's loose.
He's an absolute loose cannon. He's a loose cannon, and the games he played under Jones cost us so many goals.
Mm-hmm.
So not professional sometimes. I was watching his body language last night and the way he behaves at times. Yeah, I know he's got passion and commitment, but
I can only
I don't know,
take you
he's
so far.
Brazilian. He's one of the worst Brazilians I've ever seen played.
He's-
That's really harsh.
He doesn't
I
look.
know, but
Look, he doesn't look like pulling on the yellow shirt anytime soon, does he? But what I
no,
think, I mean, he's like you say, he's a good person to have around the boys. It's probably I'd put him in the Bednarek bracket where
100%.
shouldn't be on the pitch. Clearly good for the dressing room because people clearly like him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be there. But I put a tweet out earlier in the week saying if they're good for the dressing room but they're shit for the pitch, put them on the sides and let them be a cheerleader. Keep them in the dressing room. Don't put them on the football pitch because they're not good enough. They're not.
Yeah.
It's not. You can't just have someone about and play them because they're good fellas and they bring a bit of they got something about them as a person. That doesn't win you football games. It doesn't. I think.
Yeah, the manner of that last night was a disgrace. If you look back, Josh, if you look back at some of the recent games we played against lower league opposition, you look back, Sheffield Wednesday, we were dreadful that night, weren't we? I think we won on penalties. We won on penalties.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Dreadful. We were really poor, lucky to get through.
Yeah.
Play Lincoln City. They were League One. Managed just about to get a win in Jones' first game.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we were really struggled. Really struggled.
Yeah.
And then again last night. But it was like a million miles away from anything we did against Man City. And I know he made a lot of changes, Jones, that night when Nathan Jones was the manager, didn't he? He made a lot of changes against Man City, but I just something's not right there.
No,
There's something not right there. Don't look very fit. The players, I don't think, anywhere near as fit as they used to be. You remember back in the day, in the early stages of Hasenhüttl, definitely when we come out of lockdown, they were really fit, would run that extra yard, there would be the extra squeeze, that extra closing down. We just look a yard short in every game I've seen. Certainly since the Boxing Day game, it was really noticeable when we played that against Brighton and Hove. I thought we looked short across the pitch. And even at times last night, we just looked way short of fitness. People, like you're saying earlier on about the tour pool, not been able to play 90 minutes. You paid like 80 grand a week or 50 grand a week. You should be able to last 90 minutes. Come on.
And some. I mean, it's
and some,
yeah. Brighton was a frightening one because we'd had all that time to prepare as well.
It's a massive wake up call. It was a massive wake up call because when you look back at COVID and the way Hasenhüttl brought the side out of COVID, we were superb, weren't we?
Brilliant.
That run we had, brilliant. But whatever they did, they worked hard on the training pitch. Obviously, got organised, got fit, got together. But we had Danny Ings.
and
the goal scorer.
Exactly, and zero outside distraction. I don't know whether there is too much noise and people just can't seem to shut it out. I mean, you paid more than enough to shut it out. Just ignore it. Get on with your job. And I'll pick up on your point on fitness as well because I wholly agree with it. I've said it to my missus for a long time. She didn't really follow football too much, but I met her during Ralph, and she became a big Saints fan. And I she wouldn't believe it, but I said these boys, our team under Mauricio Pochettino and Ronald Koeman was statistically the fittest team in the league. We covered the most miles 2 or 3 seasons running. We had the strongest defensive record.
That was supposed to be the Southampton way.
That was it.
What happened to the Southampton way, by the way?
It's gone. Absolutely
disappeared,
down the pan. It's bullshit. It's gone, and they'll hide behind this weird gap, they said, between the academy and the first team. If you're good enough, you're old enough. I think there's players in there that wouldn't do any worse than the likes of Eli Nusi, who seems to start every week. I mean, the under 18s are actually playing it as we're speaking right now. I think there's players like Cammy Doyle and Don Ballard. I think Don Ballard was possibly the only positive of last night. If you're going to pick anything out whatsoever,
It's tough to see him get on, to be
it was
fair. I was
brilliant.
pleased for the boy.
Yeah, it was
Just a
brilliant.
shame in the circumstances, but, he's going to be a great player.
Proper. I mean, when we conceded the second goal, my first thought, after this is fucking bullshit, was I don't think Ballard's going to see a minute again this season now, because this was his chance, and thankfully,
Such a bloated squad.
I know
We've got such a bloated
that's what I'm
squad.
saying. And
He'd
every
probably
game is
be
like a
better than
disappointment.
Mara, though, wouldn't he? He'd be better than Mara. Mara, dear me. Just like
Dreadful.
woeful at times last night. He scored once all season. Brought in as almost like that replacement to
And how can he score such?
Amanda Broya.
Yeah, and how can he score such a decent goal against Man City? Such a striker's instinct to peel in, in front of the centre half and hit that half volley. And it's like, you've clearly got it in you. I don't know where he pulled that from.
His body language I don't like
That's poor.
at the moment. I didn't like his body language last night. He's a good player. He can be a good player, but you've got to work hard and you've got to want to wear the shirt, a bit of passion.
Yeah.
Work hard. This is what really annoys me about some of these players. They don't work hard.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, isn't it? It's the old adage, and
Yeah.
it's very true. And Sekumara is definitely the epitome of that. I mean, last night, yeah, he was so poor. To be, I mean, the first goal, I know it's offside in the build-up, whatever. I think he had a blinding opportunity to score. He didn't even hit the target. He put it 10, 15 yards over.
Snatching. They're just snatching stuff in front of goal.
How are you that poor? How are you that poor as a professional? You're paid to train and do this every single day. How are you not hitting the target there? It's just,
Josh, I didn't think the season could get any worse
no.
after Saturday. I didn't think it could get any worse, but I think it scooped an all-time low last night.
I agree.
This season.
Yeah, we hit
The atmosphere there. I don't know what it's going to be like at the weekend as we go into the Leicester game. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit, but you could see people are, there's not, a lot of I know a lot of regular fans. I travel from the Isle of Wight to Southampton for my games, and the queue for the Jet going back last night, it was nothing to what I usually see at any cup game. Just less at the football, and you could feel it in the stadium, couldn't you, Josh? There was just less people. There's no atmosphere.
It was eerie. It was horrible. I've got a big gripe.
It's soulless.
Yeah,
It's soulless.
I've got a massive gripe with that, and I know people might get a bit like, oh, what's the point of bringing it up because they covered this. I cannot stand the idea, even on a normal game, of giving a section of the Northern End away to away fans. I despise it. I despise it. Why are you giving your loudest end even a section away to the away fans? Why are you not putting them away in a corner like other Premier League clubs do?
Yeah, I quite like how they did it at Leicester. When I went to Leicester, I quite liked how it was done at Leicester. It was tucked in the corner. It was quite well organised, really.
Yeah. You think even at places like Old Trafford, you're stuck up in a corner.
Yeah.
James Park, you're stuck up.
Needed that second tier. I did read, I think it was on Saints, maybe on the Twitter feed. I read it somewhere today, maybe one of the forums, and they were talking about having that upper tier and getting the away fans out of the way and creating a bit more of an atmosphere with the home fans.
100%.
It's a major problem, Josh. It has been
massive.
for a while now.
Massive, huge, and I'll give credit to the travelling fans because it's a long way to go for a Wednesday night, and I really hope you enjoy your moment because fair play for coming. But
they
our
deserve
football club for giving the whole of the Northern End away and then having the cheek to charge £17.50 plus a booking fee for a ticket is fucking ludicrous. I read somewhere that it may be something to do with the away also has a say. I don't know the ins and outs.
I think there's some ruling maybe with the FA Cup. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I think there's some sort of ruling where they have to give a certain allocation.
Yeah. And
it's like how you do that, and
no, exactly. It's so poorly organised. The pricing structure's wrong. For an FA Cup game against a League Two side, you should be filling it out. Why are you not using it as an opportunity? Even last night, it was just It was eerie. It wasn't.
It was eerie. Yeah, you're right. It was. You've summed it up so well. Actually, it was eerie. There's a lot of games I've been to this season. I just found it really depressing at times.
It is.
First season that I've got two young daughters. I've got an 8-year-old and a 13-year-old. She's nearly 14. I've been taking my girls to well, I've got them a season ticket each. So they'll be going. I must have put them on football for a lifetime. My youngest daughter's seen Southampton win once against Chelsea.
That's horrid,
It's the
isn't it?
only game she's seen. Bless her.
That is
But she
horrid.
still wants to come. They still love that. They still love the club. But yeah, and even they say to me sometimes, "Oh, my daughter would take some headphones sometimes to cover her ears." I was like, "You don't need to."
Yeah,
So,
no, you certainly don't. I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't bother.
no.
But and I don't think any. By the way, this is not me having a go at the home fan base. I don't think you have a reason to shout unless it's negative at the moment. I mean, if those players aren't showing anything that deserves our support, quite frankly, it's so poor. So I mean, yeah, on Grimsby, I did have a catch up with Alfie House, the Southampton FC reporter for the Daily Echo, and yeah, here's Alfie's thoughts. Yeah, hello. So right, I have the privilege to sit down with Chief Southampton FC reporter for the Daily Echo, Alfie House. I'm sure
Hello,
Benji will love that. How you
he's
doing,
fine with
bud?
that. I'm right, mate. Yeah, not too bad. As I say, for reasons I'm sure we'll get into, a little bit deflated, a little bit tired, but I'm okay.
I'll bet. Yeah, let's get into those reasons straight away. Let's not mess about. What the fuck happened last night? I mean, for people listening, it'll be Wednesday. But what on earth happened?
Yeah, I think it's one of those, isn't it? I think when I put my full-time tweet out and obviously said that Southampton had been knocked out by the lowest ranked team left in the competition, I got a load of replies saying, why are you surprised, Alfie, and all this, and I get that, but I was genuinely surprised. I really felt that Southampton have been pretty good against lower league opposition in the cups. They don't tend to trip up. Certainly not in the 18 months I've been here. They've won all of the cup games I expected them to win. Saturday at Leeds was a disaster, obviously, but you just felt that even with as many as 9 changes, which I probably wouldn't have gone for as many as that myself, you still felt they'd better get over the line and get the job done. But 2 freak penalties, a bit of defending that you can't excuse, and then yes, it may be soft on Kaleta, but ultimately, why are you smacking a bloke in the box for no reason? So yeah, much of their own undoing, but it's a massive opportunity missed, I think.
Oh, hugely, especially when you look at who's gone through. With the likes of Sheffield United, Pippin Spurs, and yeah, I mean, I think there's only 2 teams really that you'd expect to lose to in United and City left. Really, everyone else you could give it a proper good go. It's gutting. Yeah, like you said, I'm much of the same opinion of that team had more than enough to win comfortably. I think especially with the quality of player in there, or supposed quality of player. The penalties were, I couldn't see. I was really confused at the Lianco one. I couldn't really see it from where I was sat, but obviously the replay showed it was handball. It was. I'd be furious if it wasn't given against us. The Chiletsar one, he's clearly shown why now 3 coaches are reluctant to pick him, as much as that hurts. Do you think it's potentially a disciplinary problem with him?
No, I wouldn't like to speculate on it in terms of why he hasn't been picked or any of those reasons. But what we can see is he's obviously an emotional player, I think, which is what you want, really, isn't it? But they've got a lot of centre halves who are emotional. They feel the game. They feel the way that the players wind them up. And apologies if I keep looking to my left. I've just got the FA Youth Cup stream on, and Southampton just taking the lead. So Kamara just scored a free kick. Yeah, just good. So one team is winning. Yeah, I don't look. I think I think the thing is in supporters and media, we don't really see what goes on day to day, So when we see the likes of Orsic and Kaleta out the team for 3-4 weeks in a row, we think, what's going on there? Why are you not getting them in? You've spent 10-15 million pounds combined on them. Get them in the team. But ultimately, you have to understand that a manager and a coach sees them, they talk to them, they feel the way they feel the game. So they probably have a more educated view on it than we do, and we probably have to admit that sometimes. And I think if I was to pick a team for Saturday, I think Kaleta would probably not be in that team. I don't think he's a bad defender. I think he could well be one of Southampton's better defenders on his day. But I just think he has to learn that it's stupid to do that. 1-0 down to lower league opposition. It's a really, really silly foul to give away. And ultimately, it's cost them the game. It's cost them the cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel although he did score the goal that sort of cancelled out that penalty not too long after. I just think what it was. I was actually really confused. I'd just come back from having my halftime slash, and it just sort of everything was unfolding, and I thought, because I'd sort of caught on the big screen that the guy was basically hanging off his shirt, and I thought, oh, whatever, it's probably a foul, and I come out, and then it's penalty, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I think, yeah, you give the ref a decision to make, he's going to make it. I feel like probably in the Prem, a big striker turns around and gives him one back, and the ref says, "Oh, you two, pack it in." But I mean, if he goes down, what's he going to do? He's got to look at it. He's struck an opponent at the end of the day. I mean, it was clever from the chap who went down, and yeah, I mean, they made no mistake from the spot. Got a credit.
It's interesting. They've had 2 penalties awarded to them this season, Grimsby, and they've missed both of them. The manager told us, but of course, they get 2 against Southampton. They put both of them away.
It's going to be in it. It's going to be. I did see that, and credit to their supporters. The vast majority of them, I mean, 4,000 on a Wednesday night for a near on 500 mile round trip is outstanding. So fair play to them. I hope they really enjoy their moment. So yeah, I'm thrilled for them. Absolutely fucking thrilled for them. I think the less said about Wednesday, the better. Really, really poor. One glimmer in hope, one small silver lining was probably that Don Ballard actually did come on, which as soon as the second went in, I thought, oh, for fuck's sake. Actually, my thought process was, I can't see a time now in the season when he's actually going to get minutes.
Yeah,
because everything's a cup final now. So I am glad that he took that sort of risk and went, go on, you can't do any worse. And he didn't do any worse. In fact, I thought he was better than Adam Armstrong was all game. He was the only one who was appealing for things and getting at the ref,
retrieving the ball every time, went behind for a goal kick, stuff like that.
Exactly. He's putting it straight on the line for the keeper. I think there was 2 or 3 like sort of dubious shouts. He was screaming at the ref for a handball. I thought, probably nothing in it, but it's nice to see. And I mean, I've seen he started tonight for the youth boys. Hopefully, he can put them through. That'd be a result as well. Like I say, less said the better. It's woeful as well as Leeds.
I think the one thing that I took out of that game is that James Ward-Prowse really is Southampton. When he came on, they dominated the game again. And yes, they shouldn't be not dominating the game anyway, but he was the only thing that put the game back into their hands. His ball for collect car was brilliant, and there's a couple more opportunities like that as well from Ward-Prowse. That man deserves all the credit that he gets and more. He is the only hope that this club has of surviving the Premier League this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And it felt a bit like that towards the end of last season when we were nearing the drop. It was just like the only person who seemed to give it some. I suppose when we talk about importance of staying up, the next 2, it can't be any bigger. It can't be any bigger for us. Leicester on Saturday evening. I am prepared. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to predict us to win that, especially with James Maddison making a return. But how do you see us returning to any sort of form? I mean, any sort of form, especially play against how we did against Chelsea.
Unfortunately, I've already done my prediction for the Total Saints podcast, and I actually went for a 2-1 win, but this was before Grimsby. So I'm feeling a little bit less confident about that now. And as you mentioned, James Maddison coming back as well. The 2 best free kick takers in England will be on the same pitch. Let's hope that James Ward-Prowse gets the opportunity more than James Maddison does. I feel that, and I said at the time, the Chelsea game was a really emotional afternoon. The guys, the players, they wanted Ruben Sellers to get the job. They played for him. I worry that isn't going to be able to be matched again. And we've seen that against Leeds. We saw it fall flat very quickly. And if you go back to the 2005 relegation season, you will notice some really, really concerning similarities the way this season has gone in terms of going through 3 managers. One of them being one who was there for quite a while and losing their job at the start of the season. Another one being an interim manager, a coach who became the main guy, and because everyone liked him, but he probably wasn't quite ready for it. And then a third manager who everyone hated in Harry Redknapp. Now we've done those the other way around this season. We've got Nathan Jones first, and then we've gone for the number 2. And not only that, but the only striker you had was a 6'7" lad who could put the ball away. Peter Crouch, Paul Nuachu. There are so many things that I just feel are pointing towards relegation this season, and I hope that I think you're right. I think you're bang on. Leicester this weekend, as I've said every single time, and I'm sure you've said every single week, is massive. But we can't. We keep saying that because they keep putting themselves into a position where it's just in reach, and then it's taken away from us again by a Leeds. We have a Chelsea, then we have a Leeds. What we need now is a Leicester, which is put smiles on our faces, and we go to United with a bit of hope. If they lose to Leicester, then nobody's going to be excited or hopeful, are they?
Not at all. Absolutely not at all. And it's gutting because, like you say, and I've said it to plenty of other fans, the thing that kills you now with us is hope, because they show you a little bit, and then, like you say, they pull the rug from underneath you with absolute dross. That doesn't even begin to cut it. Last night, especially, I thought everything just looked so shambolic when we were on the ball. The only time I saw us in any form of shape was sort of from a goal kick, when everyone was sort of getting back into position. I thought it was so poor and unorganised. And there was points I was sort of making the odd note through the match because I was just absolutely dumbfounded at what I was seeing. And you guys would have had a much better view than me. But I saw Sellers sort of barking at Chileta at a few points in the game. And at one point, I think it was about 60 minutes in, and we just looked hopeless. And he was barking at Chileta, and he just sort of went, just turned around to Lianco and sort of shrugged his shoulders. I don't know. So, I mean, I think the lack of organisation is a massive thing. Chelsea, as shambolic as they are at the moment, we had to show something to win that game. And I think the shape sort of helped us. We've been so lackluster and so chaotic. And I think that, like, they kept saying calmness. And Ward-Prowse come out after the game and said it's a familiar way of playing and things like that. If it's familiar, why not stick to it? Because last night, it showed nothing like, and Leeds, to be honest, didn't show anything really like Chelsea. We just look poor. We look completely inept of any ideas. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that we have to have a game plan and that's it? Because at the minute, they've had so much. I feel like they've had so much thrown at them. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, I think there's different. There's obviously there's different situations that require different plans. Something like Chelsea away was obviously very tough in terms of playing a good team, but it's very simple in terms of the objective. The objective is that you keep a better team out. You have a very solid structure. You don't deviate from it. You if you can, you sort of miss out the middlemen. You try and get up the pitch quickly, and you try and break when they're looking to put more men forward. When you play against a team like Leeds or something, they're not going to leave those spaces for you. The Leeds would have been a slightly bad example under Justin Mars. They do leave spaces, but Javi Gracia came in and they become very solid again. And I feel like Leicester's going to be very solid again as well under Brendan Rodgers. So I don't think it's as much about structure as it is about bravery and courage. And I know that I've asked Ruben Sellers, and he says two things. He says, one, he's got no question they're brave, and he's got no question about the leadership. But for me, I just can't help but feel that they're missing that. They're missing something. And it's not because James Ward-Prowse isn't a leader or Cole Peters isn't a leader or Theo Walcott's not a leader. There's just not enough calmness in the right areas of the pitch for me. The centre halves are not calm enough, and the goalkeeper is not calm enough to sort of put that into the rest of the pitch. And if the main core of your defence is panicking, which they are, Jan Bednarek, I've called him Captain Chaos. Duja Kletekar is clearly not a calm individual. Bella Kotchab's young. Salisu has never been a calm defender. He's an aggressive, firefighting defender. And the goalkeeper's 20 years old, or Alex McCarthy. Which one would you rather have less? And it's all a melting pot of a mental. A lack of mental ability to hold out a game and to fight when you're in the trenches. I think these are a lot of good players, but I feel like as a result of perhaps a slightly scattered transfer approach, or maybe even a too specific transfer approach in terms of just going for young players with the odd bit of experience, I feel that there's just not quite enough there. Whether that's structural, I think it's mental personally.
I agree. I think there's been far too much passing the buck this season as well. Everyone's sort of passed it to the next man, and whether that's from being on the field. And I've said it to, again, lots of other neutral fans as well. I think a lot of the problem is when the confidence is so low in a football team, the last thing a player wants to do is take responsibility or pass it on, pass it sideways, pass it backwards, get rid of it. Especially when the crowd is on your back, because there was a period of time where we just could not get hold of the fucking football. And now I feel like we've gone the opposite way, where when we have it, we want to keep it, but not keep it in a positive way. We want to just keep it, and if something goes wrong, then it's like it's chaos. I can't work it out. I think you're right about calming influences. There's not many in that team. One of them, in fact, is probably. I mean, I say probably. I think one of them is a 19-year-old kid in Lavia. He's probably one of the calmest players on the field at all times, which is mental. it's fucking mental. And I think we haven't talked about things like the goalkeeper enough. And I hate digging out goalkeepers. I always have. I felt really bad for Angus Gunn after he shipped 9, that first 9. And I thought you can't just blame the keeper. You cannot, and I hate it. But at some point, we're going to have to turn around and look at that, because it's not been good enough. It's not been good enough at all. And I think there's been so many failings from the board as well. Like you said, a bit of a mad transfer approach. It almost seemed like full youth, and then, like you say, the odd bit of experience. But that's what they're going to hide behind if we go down and say, "Oh well, we signed Joe Aribo. He's not, he's not 20." And it's like, well, all right. Well, we signed Dushlet Lazar. He's not 20. Yeah, but none of these guys played.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think when Adam Blackmore did his interview with Rasmus Ankerson earlier this year after they won the game against Man City, I think Adam asked about that approach and about the young players. And I think you're bang on. I think Rasmus did actually say, well, look, we signed Joe Aribo and we signed Coletta Carr. And they're right, of course. Aribo's played the Europa League final. Coletta Carr is a seasoned international. But you're bang on in the sense that it's not Premier League survival experience. It's not, okay, right, well, we've been here before, lads. Let's buckle down and get going. It's new to them as well. You can't expect them to carry the buck of the rest of the team. And I think Gavin Bazunu, like you say, you don't want to dig out Gavin Bazunu, do you? Because it's not Gavin Bazunu's fault that he's playing as a number 1 Premier League keeper. That's only because he's been so good from such a young age. If you look at Nick Pope, at this age, Nick Pope was playing for Conference South Welling United. Aaron Ramsdale was in League One. Emilio Martinez was in League Two. They weren't playing Premier League at 20 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And even when we signed Fraser Forster, when we did, we were even sort of, because we'd come from a place of having experienced goalkeepers in Kelvin Davis and then Artur Boruc before him. We almost had to excuse it and say, well, Fraser's still quite young. I think he was like 25, 26 when we signed him. They said, a keeper doesn't come into his prime until his late 20s, early 30s. And signing a keeper at 19, just turning 20, and saying, right, he's our number 1, full stop, end of story, is fucking mental. Anyway, it's crazy. And then to not recognise that, this is personally, for me, my opinion, that he needs a bit of time to be taken out of the firing line. And I've said it before, and realise that the defence are just as shit without him as they are with him. It might even help him a bit and go, oh, all right, maybe it's not all me. I don't think there's any fear that if you put Alex McCarthy in, he's going to keep Bazunu out, because I don't think McCarthy's that good either. I really
No, I'd have gone for Willy Caballero myself. But I think he's probably at that point where, like, in terms of athleticism, he's probably not able to make those top corner saves and probably not able to get across the box as quick as perhaps you need for a Premier League goalkeeper. But he's one of those calming influences that I've mentioned, and I think I'd be willing to sacrifice a little bit of shot stopping for what Willy Caballero brings mentally to a defender in front of him.
Yeah, I would as well. I can't see, I can't see him getting in, but I agree with you. Yeah. So is it we played Man United after Leicester?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe it's Old Trafford, which is a tough game.
It was moved to a Sunday.
That's right.
They won the
Europa League
game, and then I can't. Yeah, that's right. I can't say I'm confident for that. We'll speak on that next week. But yeah, so a quick summary. Last night, dog shit. What do you? Just a little passing comment. What do you think we need, and not just at Leicester, but going forward to try and string anything together?
It's a really good question. What I think Southampton need to try and string something together at this stage of the season, I think that they may need to get rid of the approach for tactical familiarity slightly and try and take the brakes off a little bit. What I mean by that is play the same back four and goalkeeper, if you so wish, Carl Peters, and play a settled back four, even if that means including Jan Bednarik, which I personally wouldn't do. Just play a settled back four, and then in front of them have a midfield three with James Ward-Prowse, Romeo Lavia, and either Charlie Alcaraz or Ibrahima Diallo, which is maybe an unpopular shout, but Ibrahima Diallo's off the ball work is actually quite valuable. And if Charlie isn't ready yet, Ibra will step in. Then have a front three. Whether that's Kamaldeen, Onuachu, and Che Adams. A slightly different, asymmetrical shape. Just something that if the midfield is missed out, which it so often is because the fullbacks get under pressure and they have to lump it up. Onuachu's there, he nods it down, and there are two runners off of him. There's two people causing carnage, and you just take the brakes off a little bit. You say, defend, and get the ball up the pitch as quick as you can and try and win set pieces for James Ward-Prowse. Because as sad as it is, that's probably the best way of scoring a goal right now, is winning set pieces for James Ward-Prowse. But I feel this 4-2-2 right now, I just feel that it's not working with the players. They're not brave enough to go to and they're courageous, they're brave, but they're not with it in the big moment. To go to a big stadium in a big match, draw 0-0 until the 70th minute, and then win it 1-0. They're so much more likely, as we've seen the whole season, to draw 0-0 to the 70th minute and then lose 1-0.
Yep. Yeah, far too often. I can't remember the numbers, but the amount of games we've lost
10 times this season they've lost by 1 goal.
Yeah, by 1 goal, and then I think was it eight of them were 1-0 or something stupid
something
like that.
like that,
something fucking ridiculous, just absurd. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I don't think they're capable of playing that 4-2-2 as much as I've wanted it all season. And also all season I've been wanting to try things, bring on Orsic, bring on Aribo, bring on, but after seeing them in several games now, I don't think we know how to use them properly. Orsic is one of those, I think he's going to take time. He's not right now. And that's what we thought he was. And that's the disappointing thing, but he's not right now. Clearly not right.
I felt he found a lot of space yesterday as well, though. Orsic. I felt Orsic found a lot of space yesterday. I don't actually think he was as bad as people said he was, but clearly he didn't do anything, did he? So he can't be that good in the game, if that makes sense. But I felt he got into the right areas, and like you say, Aribo, nobody knows what Aribo's best position is.
No.
And it certainly isn't playing in the midfield 6, which is what they've tried a number of times this season.
No, clearly not. And my thing is, if we're going to do anything, if we don't know how it works, don't do it. We need to know how shit's going to work, and that goes for people like Aribo. Unfortunately, he's going to have to sit it out, in my opinion, because we don't know how to use him. We don't. It's clear. It's not that he's a bad footballer, because we've seen he's not. Last season he scored in the Europa League final. He's a good footballer. We just don't know how to use him yet.
And maybe it is in that my mythical 4-3-3 that I've devised that may or may not ever happen. Maybe he's that third man. Maybe it's Kamaldeen, Onuachu, and it's Joe Aribo just floating and trying to be the guy who the ball falls to in the box. Maybe that's how you use him. Maybe you just say, do you know what? You're clearly not going to be the man that's snapping position every single second. You're making the runs up and down the pitch. But if you just hover and try and cause an issue, you're a big lad. Defenders will try and mark you, even though we haven't seen anything in the air from him. They'll think, well, he's a huge guy. We need to get him out of the game. And he'll cause problems potentially. So maybe that's how you use him. But that's pure finger in the pie stuff, pie in the sky.
Well, possibly. We saw him last year play his best role in an attacking role for Rangers. So I don't know. Maybe whether we are have that in our heads to use that, or whether we're going to continue down the Adam Armstrong, Kumara route. I don't know. Probably knowing us, but like you say, I think if we don't know how it works, don't do it, and do the simple things. Defend with your life and attack quickly. We've missed that for a long time. I think it's as simple as that. Alfie, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. I know it's only been a quick one for yourself, but
apologies for that.
Don't be silly. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And hope to have you again, mate.
Will do, mate. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, that's the thought. That's the thoughts of Alfie. And he summed up Grimsby the same as we did, effectively, but with a bit more of a professional head on than me, who's a bit upset. And he previewed Leicester pretty well. So let's get our 2 pence about Leicester, Martin.
Yeah, we're two passionate fans that are really disappointed and despondent, aren't we?
Completely despondent. How are you feeling with regards to? It's actually going to be my old man's first game of the season. I said, you're fucking mad for coming.
Bless him for coming.
Yeah, bless your little heart. But no, he's we used to go all the time. But
it won't be pretty.
No,
another televised game.
Yeah,
I don't see us getting anything out of it. We're gonna have to show a lot more than we did last night. Our home form, played 10, won 1, drawn 3, and lost 7. The alarming thing that we could break a record at this weekend. So we want to show some passion and some commitment, because I'd be mortified if we lose this game, because like I say, we could break a record. We're winless at home in 5. We've lost the last 5. If we make it 6, that's a club league record in defeats in a row at home.
No, it's brilliant. It's just.
I think that's that really, really concerns me. So it will go in the history books if we lost at the weekend. But Leicester, they're an in and out side, aren't they? You never know what sort of side you're going to get from Leicester. They've got the 4th highest goal tally on the road, 21, and the 3rd highest goal scored, 28.
You're not filling me with a great thing.
They score goals. So they're the 4th highest scoring team in the league.
And unfortunately, to add to that, one of the main contributors to that is back at the weekend after missing 2 games with illness. James Maddison's back, so
yeah,
that's brilliant.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
I know they've been missing a few, but they'll be looking to bounce back. Obviously, they've had a cup exit in the week. I believe it was Blackburn.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed like us.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed like us. But since losing 3-0 at St Mary's in 2017, they're unbeaten in the last 5 league games at St Mary's, Leicester.
Yeah, and we don't need to mention one of them, do we?
1-3, drawn 2.
Yeah. It's not.
Scored 18 goals in the process.
Yeah, that's half of them in one game, yeah? That's
3.6 per game, by the way.
That's absurd, isn't it?
It's alarming.
Yeah. I mean,
Vardy's not scored. I can't remember any games Vardy's gone without scoring. I should have wrote the statistic down earlier, but
he's on a bit.
Gift that is Southampton at the moment.
Yeah, we're renowned, aren't we? We're renowned for giving people their confidence back. I can't see it being any different this weekend. I can't see it being any different. We were nuts enough to be reasonably positive in our predictions last time. I can't.
We all went for a win. All 3 of us.
I think all 3 of us did. Yeah. How foolish we were. I can't see us doing anything. Have you got any hope at all? Or is there something you can give us to hang on to, or are you much the same?
I'm usually quite optimistic, and I try and look on the bright side. I go with my best mate, and he has this tendency to make bets at half time. He's been winning quite a bit recently. He's usually against us as well. He did. We sat with me with the Leeds game, and he placed a few quid and won some money because he thought we'd cave in, and inevitably we did. We need to look like we need to start trying to create chances and give our strikers a little bit of hope. I'm guessing that Adams isn't going to be fit. I don't think he
probably not.
I don't think he'd be fit. They were talking about 10 days, weren't they? I think it took him past this weekend, so there's no doubt that Tall Paul will play up front. Be interesting to see what the lineup's like, especially that back 4. Like you, I won't want to see Benderek in it. That's for sure. And hope that Sally's fit.
Yeah, Sally.
And he can come in.
Yeah, 100%.
Hope he's fit. Then Peru, he had a bad game against Grimsby. I thought he was dreadful. Will he start? Probably. I don't know. Whether Maitland-Niles may come in at right back, and
who was also
Walker Peters will switch and play left back. Maybe
Leeds. Maitland-Niles, I thought he was pretty poor against Leeds.
He turns his back on stuff and doesn't try sometimes. I think he's been a massive issue this season. Maitland-Niles.
He has. Although
good player, so much potential.
But
he's on loan. Does it mean
against
anything?
Chelsea and Wolves? Actually, one of our best players, which is the frightening thing,
Yeah, he was brilliant at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Consistency in football is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. We can't find any of it. I would love to see the inclusion of the lad who's just put Saints under-18s 3-1 up against Preston, Don Ballard.
Has he really?
Yeah, he has. Cammy Doyle's got 2 goals. He was, by the way, unlucky not to get on as well. But yeah, Don Ballard would be a great. I mean, for me, if Che Adams is injured, Adam Armstrong isn't being used as a 9. He's not a 9. Don Ballard.
He's really struggling, Adam Armstrong.
He is badly. He wasn't good against.
Really struggle. I think his confidence is voided. Like everyone's voided, which is a massive concern. But his is as low as anybody's. And I think even if we drop down, which we likely will, doesn't look like a player that's going to score any goals. I think he needs a fresh start. Don't you? It's probably time for him to move on.
It's sad, isn't it? Because when we signed him, I was very hopeful looking at the goals he'd scored. And he was one of those who I thought, well, if Che Adams, because he obviously season before he wasn't dreadful, but obviously he had Danny Ings next to him and whatnot. And when Armstrong signed, I thought he could be something here. This guy is, I think, if I'm rightly so, he was the second highest goal scorer in all English divisions behind Ivan Toney when we signed him.
He's
he's
amazing
for
form.
himself. He's a fantastic goal scorer. and it just went completely down the drain. I mean,
Scores on his debut at Goodison as well,
brilliant
didn't he?
goal,
Scored a
great goal.
really good goal on his
He
debut.
sort of nicked, almost like
And then he didn't
took it off of
score
Adams
again
and put it
until
into
like
the right.
November.
Yeah,
Didn't score again until November, did he?
was that
Had
against
a
Villa?
barren run.
It was Villa one.
Yeah, it was against Villa at home.
High
Yeah.
volley. Yeah, no, it's a shocking run. He just can't seem to string any confidence together. So yeah, I think it would be fantastic to see someone like Ballard on the bench to come on, because yeah, it'll give you something.
There's nothing to lose now, is there? Do you know what I mean? There's
Exactly.
nothing to lose. Someone could be a hero. I remember one of the Great Escape season. We brought in a lad called Mickey Evans.
Mickey Evans,
Really raw talent from the lower leagues, real wasn't a strong boy, quite lightweight, but he was quite pacey. And he just managed to get us a load of goals.
yeah.
And
No,
his goals kept us up that
I've
season.
seen a lot, actually a lot about that season, and he was quite a big part of it in the end, wasn't he?
It's a massive part of it.
Where we're getting that from, I don't
But
know.
like the passion, the commitment, when I look back to those Great Escapes in the 90s, there was passion and commitment. And sometimes you didn't maybe have the best players, but they give their absolute all for the football club, like everything. The likes of Matt Oakley, born and bred down this neck of the woods, he give everything to wear the shirt, everything.
And
Obviously have Franny,
it plays like
likes
Beats
of
as well.
Franny, and
Plays like Beats, like you said.
Beats. I saw him last night, James Beattie, actually. And I had a nice conversation with him. It was good to see him because I've not seen him for many years, and he loves the football club. And he comes back and he's watched a lot of our games this season. And I said to him, like, we spoke about the season. He was like, "Oh, mate, there's still games left. We've got to, could turn it around." And mathematically, like he was saying, we're not out of it. I said, "But Beats, we don't have someone like you up front that can find the net and that's going to work really hard, got a good touch, and you'll get goals away." I remember that season we went down, and Harry Redknapp sold him in that January transfer window. And he said he didn't want to go.
No,
He
I
didn't want
know.
to go.
Yeah.
He wanted to stay.
Yeah, there was a Rupert Lowe special, wasn't it? He said, "I needed."
Yeah, you would love a player like
selling him or
James
not.
Beattie.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. The thing is,
Do you think that season?
with a player like Beats as well, he was adored by all the clubs he played for. He just gave everything, didn't he? As a footballer, as a man, just gave everything. And you just wish that you could have someone like that in your football team now. It's
Always got time for everyone, James. He's a nice guy. And then that season we got relegated. We let a lot of goals in, but we did score a few. With Henri Camara up front, he coming in the January window and scored goals. Peter Crouch was there.
Yeah,
Kevin Phillips. And then you look at what we've got now in attack and who scores goals. We just don't score goals.
There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. Yeah,
So like you talk about the young lad. Perhaps he scored some goals.
I think he would genuinely would put you out on if you was to play Don Ballard.
I know.
Yeah, if you was to play Don Ballard up against Che Adams for the rest of the season, I know he'd get more goals because Don Ballard's got nothing to lose. He's got absolutely everything to gain and nothing to lose. The lad would do everything to put the ball in the back of the net. And at this point we're at, who better? In my opinion, who better? And I know it might sound ludicrous to people thinking, "Oh, why would you put a kid in?" We're moaning about not having experience, but the experience we do have has let us down so badly. It doesn't look in any way that they're going to be able to turn that around. So I don't see what the harm in playing.
I wanted to touch on Charlie Alcaraz, actually. What are your thoughts been on Charlie Alcaraz, especially like the Grimsby game?
I thought he struggled last night. He did. He really struggled. I thought he was naive in possession. I thought he was too bullish in trying to win it, and he was sort of losing track of his own position, which is a shame because I actually really like him. I think
he looked a real bright spark, didn't he, against Man City?
100%.
In the early rounds of the Carabao Cup, he looked really good, didn't he?
When he came on against Everton away, I said he was one of our better players after he come on because, and not many people sort of saw it, but I think Ward-Prowse had a shot from about 20 yards or so. The only person who followed it in was Alcaraz from deep. He was looking, and he got his goal against Wolves. I think Alcaraz is the scorer of one of the only open play goals we've had in however many games it is. It's absurd since the World Cup.
I think it was Ward-Prowse against Everton. I think it was the last.
That's it. He's the only. He's
first goal.
Probably the only other goal scorer, right? The only other goal scorer from open play, which is dismal. But he shows he's got it about him. I thought he was really unlucky to be dropped against Chelsea. But
He's
I'm,
been in and out of the side too much. So all of a sudden, his confidence is like getting a bit of a kick in.
100%.
And
I
this is
agree.
what we seem to do to players, in and out of the side. We don't let's build the boy up. He looks a spark.
Yeah.
We bought him to help us keep us in the division.
I know.
And he's
No,
nowhere to be seen. Like I'll tell you who we didn't touch upon was Orsic.
Yes, yeah, that's a good
No,
point.
he's going to be nowhere near the squad, is he?
That's
He's going to be nowhere near the squad at the weekend.
no.
He looks void of confidence. You know, of a club taking a bid for him that he didn't want the club to take. Did he really want to come to England? Because he doesn't look like he wants to be here, poor lad.
It's really hard, and
He's not settled, is he? I
No.
feel for him because he's not settled. And does he want to? You know, was it
I look at.
Was it a move
I
that he
keep
wanted?
an eye on Mislav because I've been such a big this guy is unbelievable. The caliber he brings from the World Cup and from Europe and things like that. And I keep an eye on him quite closely. All I see on his Instagram, obviously, when he was left out against Brentford, he put that sort of book up on his story. You can't break me. In the week he posted a picture of his young son in a Dinamo Zagreb shirt at the Dinamo game, and I just think
They were at the game, weren't they? Yeah, I saw that.
I just think is he struggling? Is he really struggling? And watching him last night, actually, to be fair, in the first half, probably was one of the better players. He wasn't great, but he was trying to do things. Cutting in and shooting. Whether it was accurate or not is a different story. But I think he played better than Mara and Armstrong. I just don't think he's going to get a look in now. I agree. I don't think he is going to be in the squad.
I don't think he'll get a look in.
No.
I just think Alcaraz could be a spark and a lot. He was slated last night like everybody, but still think he's got a bit about him. He can still find a pass. And Ward-Prowse, Lavia and Alcaraz, you think, wait,
that should be
bad three.
That should be.
It's not a bad three, is it?
It should be
really.
Three. I don't think there should be an excuse to put anybody else in that three, at all.
No.
From the start of the game, anyway. I don't think that. I think that is.
I don't want to see Diallo in there particularly.
No, I don't either. I don't mind Ibra when he comes on because he can. He is, and we say it so often, but he is really good out of possession actually. So he can calm the tempo of the game down when it's a bit erratic, but not from the start. I've never liked him as a starting footballer. Not
the goalkeeping situation will be interesting Saturday.
Yes, it will.
Whether Gavin will come back in or not, or stick with McCarthy. I like Alex. I think he's a decent guy, but I don't know, his body language sometimes. I thought,
yeah,
he looks so confident. He's not played a lot of games, has he?
Not at all.
No, he looks a bit edgy.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking to Alfie
from the injury, he's had a nasty injury.
Alfie's actually an advocate for putting Willie in. What do you reckon about Caballero? Would you be happy if you saw him starting against Leicester?
They don't see up until now. No one's had any confidence in the two understudies, which is alarming, isn't it? No, I don't. I think Calabaro's a decent guy, but maybe a bit too old. But I think he's a decent human being, decent professional, works hard. Yeah, he's is he going to be any worse than what we got at the moment? I just think again that Gavin's at a young age. I think he's going to be a really, really good goalkeeper. I really like him. And he'd be a good player for Southampton, but it was a massive step from League One to come into the Premier League. And like we said at the start of the pod, it's a big ask. And yeah, maybe he'd take him out the firing line this weekend. It'd be interesting.
It will be. It will be. Do you dare to make a score prediction, please?
Yeah, I do. I will make a score prediction. I think we will score a goal, but I think we'll lose 4-1.
4-1.
That's my belief. I think we'll lose 4-1.
Yeah, I was going to.
I think confidence is on the floor. I think last night the confidence on the floor in the Leeds game. I think we're done for this season, and we're and any pundit you hear, they feel we're going down, and I tend to agree. I think if we had a slimmer chance, it was last weekend, wasn't it? We were so pleased with the Chelsea result going to Ellen Road and the abject performance and result. Just doesn't fill me with any confidence at all.
I'm with you,
Josh.
I'm with you, and we keep on kicking the can of it's our biggest game of the season down the road to next week because we keep failing. The week before, I think
we're running out quickly.
100%. The only thing that's going to help us in any way, shape, or form is results around us. They went for us on Wednesday. They went for us last night with Everton taking a batter in and Wolves losing against Liverpool. The problem is we have to get our points, and I don't think we're going to get them on Saturday. I think we're going to lose.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be 2-0.
It'd be a minimum of 4 points from the next two to have any chance, a slimmer chance.
Yeah, have to
really.
And that we got Leicester, then Man United away, and then after Man United we've got the Brentford. Yeah. And then after
Man United look on good form. They'd be pushing top three, won't they? They're going to be thereabouts end of the season. If either of Arsenal or City slip, you'd think that they'd be there. They're rampant at home. Marcus Rashford's in incredible form.
Yeah,
they look a really good. Casemiro. They've got so many good players, haven't they?
Yeah, and they're looking.
They will cause us some serious problems. That midfield, well, you're obviously be talking about that on the pod next week, but
yeah, we will.
Yeah. There's some really tough games coming out.
It's horrible. I think we'll lose 2-0 against Leicester at the weekend. Confidence rock bottom for the next week's pod, which is always good.
You don't feel we're going to score, do you, at all?
I don't feel like we're going to score. I can't see where it's coming from.
I really want James Ward-Prowse to break the David Beckham record wearing a Southampton shirt, because it might be the only nice thing to come out of this season. I'd love to see him do it. I think he will do it. And I've got a feeling he'd do it in a Southampton shirt, because it would be incredible if he did. It'd be some achievement.
It would be.
I think he needs one to equal it, and
he's
two to beat it.
He likes one against De Gea. I think De Gea and Ben Foster are the two that he scored to.
You never know. He could go and break the record at Old Trafford at David Beckham's.
You just don't know, do you?
Only Premier League club. Yeah,
you don't know. The headline would write itself for that one, wouldn't it? But we'll see. We'll check.
I'll be gutted to see him go, but I think he's been a great servant to our football club as a fan, and I think we're speaking for any fan. He's been a great servant, and he's given everything, and he's stuck with it. And he maybe had his head turned a couple of years ago, but no doubt, I know that there's not a relegation release clause in his contract, but there's clubs with big money, big offers will come in for him. And I heard a radio station today talking about James Ward-Prowse being in the Tottenham side, and it'd probably be worth 10 goals for Harry Kane, and I tend to agree.
Yeah, I think I heard the same thing. I won't name the station, but yeah, I think I heard the same thing as you, and I sadly agree too. Yeah. But yeah, let's I think get past a Leicester defeat at the weekend. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we're talking much happier this time next week, but it's hard to think like that. Thank you everybody for listening to that. Hopefully you don't need too much recuperation and therapy after listening to us go at you about our football club. Be sure to check
two passionate fans.
Yeah, that's it. It's all opinions. We care, don't we? That's the problem. Be sure to check it out on Twitter, on Facebook. Just search Southampton Way Podcast. Go and give Martin a follow on his Instagram, his Twitter. If you love Saints, if you love football, if you love goalkeeping, if you just love all things about the sport, Martin is your man.
Thank you.
Absolutely, mate. And be sure to head over and check out Alfie's Twitter as well. If you want to keep up to date with Saints, any pre-match, post-match, press conference news, it's all there. Especially tomorrow, 10:30 p.m. He'll be posting the afters of the press conference from Ruben Selles. And as I said before, if you want to stay notified of when we are uploading the video, whether it be the pod or the previews, do subscribe, and it will notify you as soon as we upload. Thank you everybody for listening, and hopefully we are talking much more positively next week. See you later.